Hello, everyone. How are you feeling? Are you enjoying our programmation here in Inova Clubin? I can say I'm loving it. Our next talk is with CEO of one of the biggest telecom companies in Brazil, TIM. Welcome, Pietro Labriola. It's a pleasure to have you here today. How are you doing?
Tudo bom, obrigado por esta oportunidade.
I'm great. Thank
Uma
you
grande
for
honra
this
de participar
opportunity.
a este evento. É a quarta
It's a
edição e
great
acho que
honor
é
to
um
be
dos
part of
eventos de
this event. It's
referência,
its
sobretudo para um
fourth
grupo
edition,
como o
and it's
Grupo
one
Klabin,
of our
que para
reference
nós
events,
é uma
especially
referência
with a
importante
group like
também,
Clubin,
sobretudo a
which is an
assunto do
important
ESG.
reference
Então, Pietro,
when you
é uma
talk about
grande honra
ESG.
ser
So
aqui
it's a
com
great
você.
honor being here.
It's our pleasure. Pietro, just to start our talk, I would like to ask you to give to our audience the dimension of TIM, the company that is leader in 4G coverage here in
Sim,
Brazil.
mas eu gosto muito mais de dizer todas as vezes de
Well,
lembrar
I
que
always
nós
like to
achamos de
say
ser a operadora
that
mais inovadora.
we
Isto é
are
muito
the most
importante quando
innovative
estamos falando de
carrier.
inovação.
This is
É
very
claro que
important
para um
when we're
operador
talking about
móvel,
innovation.
a
Of
cobertura
course, for a
é
mobile
garantir que a
carrier,
incaqueabilidade
coverage
do
is very
cliente vai
important and we need to
encontra
ensure
serviço
that
de
the
cobertura
client
é
will find
fundamental.
a
É por essa
quality
razão nós
service
sempre
wherever they
apostamos
go.
na
So
melhora da
we're
qualidade.
always betting
Por
in quality
enquanto, no
improvement.
4G. No
Meanwhile,
futuro, no
in
5G.
4G,
Lembramos
in the
que nós
future,
vamos ser o
in
primeiro
5G,
operador que vai cobrir
we're going to
todos
be
os
the first
municípios do
carrier
Brasil com o
to
4G
cover all
até
municipalities in
o
Brazil with
começo do
4G
2023.
until early
A pergunta que
2023.
você poderia fazer é, Pietro,
The
mas o
question
que se
that you
entende
may
para
ask
4G?
is,
O que é?
Pietro,
As
what
pessoas
do you
talvez possam
understand by
entender.
4G?
Então,
What
tentamos
people
de
could
traduzir de
understand
uma
by
maneira muito
4G?
simples.
So we
Fazer
try to
videoligações.
translate that.
Para fazer
To do
uma
video
videoligação,
calls, to do a
você
video call,
precisa do 4G.
you need
Para ver um
4G.
filme de Netflix,
To
você
watch
precisa
a
do 4G.
Netflix movie, you
Então,
need 4G.
esta qualidade
So,
de rede, este serviço,
this
virou algo ainda
network
mais
quality, this
importante
service is
depois
more
do
and more
Covid.
important after
Você imagina que
COVID-19.
ficar parado em
Could you
casa no
imagine
período do
staying at
Covid
home during the
sem
pandemic
Netflix,
without
sem
Netflix,
fazer videoligação
without
com a
doing
mãe
video
ou
calls
pai, ou
with
sem
your
permitir
dad
para
or
os
your
seus filhos
mom
poder fazer aula de escola?
or your
Por
kids not
isso,
being able to have
assim que
online
ser,
classes?
somos operadores que garantem a
So,
maior cobertura
we
4G
are
no
the
Brasil,
carrier
mas
that
somos
ensures
também o
the
operador
best
mais
4G
inovador.
coverage in Brazil, but we are also the most innovative
Very good.
carrier.
I think it's very interesting this point. The innovation aspect of TIM is part of its DNA. As you mentioned, the pandemics and coronavirus, what is the lesson that you learned from this period? Such a devastating moment for the whole world. And what do you see for the future? What are the impacts of the pandemics in the future?
Sim, todas as vezes que falamos da pandemia, e eu
Well,
gosto de lembrar como,
every time we
com
talk
certeza, a
about
pandemia foi
pandemic, I
algo
like to
de
remember
muito ruim
that
para toda a
certainly the
humanidade.
pandemic
Sinto
was
muito para isso.
something really bad
Mas foi
for
também um estímulo, porque
all
também das
humanity.
coisas
And I'm
ruins
really
temos que
sorry
aprender.
about this.
O estímulo é
But
que
I
aprendemos
believe
que
that we
a
have to learn
tecnologia
with the
talvez
bad things as
é
well.
muito mais
And we have
preparada que
learned
nós
that
mesmos,
technology
o que tem
maybe
de ser.
is much more
Quando
prepared than we
19
are.
de março,
What do I mean
todo
by
mundo
that?
começou a ficar em lockdown.
On March 19,
Estávamos todos apavorados.
everybody started their
Poderíamos conseguir
lockdown and
revertir a
we
imprensa
were
dia
all
depois.
scared. So,
Então,
could we be able
amanhã
to
do 20 de
open the
março,
company
abrimos
the next
e tudo
morning?
funcionava remotamente.
The morning
Todos
of
ficamos
March
em casa.
20th, we've
Ninguém
opened
à
and
noite do
everything was
19 ao
working
20
remotely. Everyone was
inventou
home.
alguma tecnologia de
No
ficção
one
científica. A tecnologia
between
já
the
estava,
19th
estava
and
lá,
20th
pronta.
created a new
O que
technology. The
faltava?
technology
A
was there,
coragem
ready.
digital dos executivos
We only didn't have
de
the
alavancar essa
digital
tecnologia.
courage of
Esse é algo
business
que não
people
temos que
to
perder, o
leverage
maior
this.
aprendizado. A
This is
tecnologia,
something
talvez,
that we don't need to
pode
lose.
deixar
Our
apavorado
greatest
todo mundo,
learning
temido que a
is that
tecnologia
technology
possa
can
reduzir os
scare some
números de
people,
trabalhadores.
thinking
Mas
that
não é
maybe
assim.
one
A
day technology can
tecnologia, talvez,
minimize the
nos
number of
permite
workers,
mudar a
but that's
nossa
not
vida
how
por
it
uma
works.
modalidade melhor.
Technology enables us to change our lives for the better.
Até ao
What do I
março
mean
do
by
ano
that?
passado, ninguém poderia imaginar de colocar
Until
muitos
March of
funcionários
last year, no
a
one could
trabalhar
imagine
remotamente em casa.
that you could put
Agora isso
many
vai virar
employees
normalidade.
working at home. Now that will become something normal. But the question is, so Pietro, why do we improve our lives? Imagine so many people who spend 1 hour and a half going to work in traffic and another hour and a half to go back home. Our life has 24 hours. We sleep for 8 hours. There are 16 left. You work 8 hours, 9, 10 hours. Then you have other 6 hours, and from these 6 hours you spend 3 hours in traffic. So allowing people to work at home will ensure a better balance between their professional life and their private life. So we are nearly doubling the amount of hours that you can dedicate to yourself, to your family, or to do whatever you like. So I think that this is very good. That's why our company, who likes to take care of our employees, is already making decisions that part of the employees are not going to go back to work in the office. We've already signed an agreement with the union. It's like the call center service people. But the other employees, they're not going to work for 5 days a week at the office, maybe 3 times a week. Also, something that I like very much is that these decisions are carried with our team. So we've done several researches and questionnaires, and everyone is happy with this approach. So I think that our greatest learning was the understanding of the importance of technology and how it could be leveraged, and the need to have courage to understand how this technology could be leveraged, and then joining both things and having the balance between professional life and private life.
It's very interesting that you mention home office as a big learning from pandemics. It's something that is good for the employees because it improves their quality of life, but it's also good for the company that will reduce costs. Can you mention other lessons that you learned from this period, such a digital transformation period, and that changed all the global scenery?
So I will say two things. First, it's much more a curiosity. After you'll say, that's true. I could think of that. How is people's behavior? During COVID-19, there was an increase of data usage. People were connected all the time. But there was a difference in the use of different applications. Do you think that people started using more Facebook or Instagram? Which one of both? Facebook. Instagram traffic went down. Why? Because in society, Instagram is the street market of vanity. You post something after you leave your hairdresser, after you leave your gym, at the beach with your beachwear. But at home, it's not nice showing yourself with your pajamas. So everyone went toward Facebook, which is a square where you meet people, you debate, and you talk. So also there was a change in video communication apps. Before pandemic, if you made 10 calls a day, I can bet that you probably did 9 audio calls, or not regular calls, and 1 video call. But now, it's normal to always do video calls. It created a small privacy problem because you're receiving video calls from wherever you are. But this is another change that came to stay. Also, tools like Teams, Zoom, or other apps such as these that are going to be used by work relationship. I think these are the things that are going to change. But the greatest learning for people, do you know what it is? A better understanding that now people cannot stay without connectivity. A device nowadays more than in the past, is a key element to be connected to the world, to transfer digital money, to use applications for video calls, online classes, for delivery. So this will become more and more a part of our life, of our everyday life. And clients will want more and more service quality. Before, maybe you could accept a cheap price and a so-so quality. Nowadays, you get angry if you try to do a video call and it doesn't work. You get angry if you can't watch Netflix. So I think that this is our learning. Even more if you compare it to the past. We're centering our strategy towards the client and service that reconnects to that subject from the beginning,
In this
innovation and
environment
coverage.
of high connection, highlighted here by Pietro, I want to ask him, the best is yet to come? What do you think? We are seeing a big revolution that is the 4G technology. Can you talk about that?
I agree. But the coolest thing is that when we passed from 3G to 4G, the understanding of what could change in our daily life was immediate because of the highest speed. Before, if you wanted to download a Breaking Bad season with 3G, 5 hours. With 4G, you can notice immediately the difference because it's something from the carriers of the market. Now that we're going to 5G, there's no limit in terms of what could happen. The limit is our imagination. But I need to explain this topic better. I like to give the example of Google Store, Android market, and Apple Store. 10 years ago, when Apple and Google launched both stores, the amount of apps were very small. They created an environment that could enable the development of several new innovations. So, if you go back 10 years ago, you couldn't imagine there would be apps for doing yoga, for shopping, for money transfer, maybe taking care of your diet. Anything. We have apps for anything, for the most serious thing to the funniest thing. 5G is going to be like that. We are going to build a network that is going to be an enabler for many functions, but it won't be brought by telecom carriers, but from all companies. We like to say that 4G was a direct innovation for the consumer. We talk about the B2C model, business to consumer. 5G is going to be an enabler of a model B2B2C, business to consumer. What do I mean by that? Once we have the 5G network, my friend Filosa, president of Fiat Chrysler Brazil, can have connected cars. But it's not him who's going to place the connected car in the network. The Einstein Hospital president can launch a remote surgery service. The governor from Rio can place drones to improve the level of security in his state. Each one will have a role. Our role will be to build the network. If you don't build it, it's going to be hard to develop solutions. The other industries are going to also place these solutions. What are we going to do directly? Brazil is a continent-sized country. It's hard to imagine that we can reach every corner of Brazil with fibers. In many places, do you know what's going to be the fiber alternative? It's what's called fixed wireless access. We're going to leverage the 5G frequency to have an alternative solution to fiber. This is going to be a revolution that our carriers, specifically us from TIM as the first one, are going to bring to the market.
Pietro, you described a very collaborative environment. We see as the new normal. It seems like it's a worry that we can establish partnerships, deals, and no innovation will work if we are not all together in this chain. Do you agree with that?
Sì, perché che acontece? A digitalizzação e
Yes,
também
what happens?
promove a conectividade.
Digitalization and also mobile and connectivity is creating a new environment. When everything needs connectivity, you need to work with that. That is why, in the future, we will be within an environment of competition, cooperation, and competition. It's a shift in mindset. Well, sorry for using so many English words.
We talked a lot about mindset here. Mindset for innovation.
That's it. But we have to understand that we need to cooperate and compete, because competition brings to the client a better condition. But without cooperation, there's no innovation. It's a balance that everyone needs to understand, and I believe it will change the whole scenery. I personally, and our company, believes that we are the company that are signing more partnerships with new companies. We also intend to launch a 5G fund for 5G startups. It's a leverage because it allows us to have a privileged point of view to understand what's happening. But I also think that we have a very important role, because we are a publicly traded company, for the development of our country.
Pietro, we know that the majority of telecom companies have a very robust platform when you think about ESG, environment, social, and governance platform in the business environment. How much is TIM engaged, committed with this agenda, and is it part of the business strategy of the company?
Na verdade, pouquinho. Nós sempre acreditamos, porque são mais de 12 anos que nós
So, if you allow me to do a small advertisement for TIM, just a bit. We have always believed, because it's more than 12 years, that we were among the most sustainable companies. What's happening today? ESG is becoming a marketing subject. You can't be left out. What's important to understand, if you really believe in that, or if you're doing that just to have another stamp or another certification. In our case, we believe in it. And now explain. These three elements. Corporate governance. We are listed in New York and in the B3 in São Paulo, in our greatest level of governance. So, we were born with the greatest level of attention towards governance. This is fundamental to ensure to everyone its maximum transparency. Also, we need to see the green environmental element. This is a topic that you need to believe. We believe in that. It's in our plan. We have an ambitious goal to be carbon-free until the end of 2030. We must not have electronic waste, and we're trying to do that. Also, there's another subject to cover the whole country until 2023 with 4G coverage. And we have social responsibility, and afterwards I'm going to tell you a very nice story. Also, we have to see the LGBT. We need to have attention towards people. It's either you believe it, either you don't. To explain how we believe, in July of last year we had a virtual convention just like what Clubin is doing, with more than 10,000 employees, 10,000 partners. I was very clear in this convention. We are a company that really need our employees. We need them to work a lot, but to work a lot, you must be happy in your working environment. Otherwise, you won't like to work there. So it's better within a relationship to place your rules up ahead. So our company accepts diversity. So that allows us to have a vision of the world that is totally different. If you have a company that makes everyone looking at the same way, probably you won't look for innovation. You won't find new things. And we believe that, so that I was clear. If you don't accept this culture, maybe this is not the right company for you. But not because I don't want to have people with a different point of view. It's very hard to work in a company where you're not aligned with this company's values. So, for us, this is not a step. And the last thing, remember that I wanted to tell you something. We're also leaders in 4G coverage for the agribusiness, which is the growing fastest industry in Brazil. That's a choice that we've done in 2018, and proudly we can say that we are leaders there. But when we decided to do that, we wanted to ensure the coverage for the community that didn't have 4G coverage. After we cover a certain area, a new team client sent us a message. You can't believe how you've changed my life. I can do video calls. This person was really moved. So this kind of thing makes you proud that you are doing something that can improve people's lives. It's an ecosystem, and we're part of this ecosystem. We used to say that no man is an island, and that's true. We need to understand that we're all part of an ecosystem. The more we cooperate, the better this ecosystem will be for everyone. And we believe in that here at TIM.
And this is why you're here today talking about innovation with purpose. I loved your participation in our festival. I would talk to you for longer, knowing more about the sustainable initiatives of TIM and everything that you are doing over there. But our time is up, and I would like to thank you for this talk and talk to you in our next opportunity.
And certainly you'll hear about us in the press or on TV. Innovation doesn't stop. Imagine the possibilities.
Very well. It was a very good interview with Pietro. He explained a lot, we learned a lot, and I think that's it. Innovation is a continuous process, and you stay tuned because the festival is still on.